In this video, we'll have a look at the second project in the sixth and last section of FreeCodeCamp. We'll be building an issue tracker, a project that utilizes full CRUD functionality, which is, I think, the first time we're doing that actually. We haven't actually done full CRUD before. And if you don't know what CRUD is, it's a programming term. It stands for create, read, update, and delete, which is essentially what you do with the database. You create something, and whatever you created, you can also get or read, which is what the R stands for. Retrieve is sometimes used as well. I think read is actually the right word, but a lot of people say retrieve. It doesn't really matter. You can also update that data or edit it, which we would say, but we say update. And of course you can delete whatever data you create. And if you can do all those four, you have full CRUD functionality for your application. And if you know how to do CRUD apps, you're quite a bit more valuable to an employer than if you don't know how to do that, pretty much. Anyway, an issue tracker is a way to track issues, pretty much. So if you use something like Jira or Trello or GitLab issues or something like that, you know what it is. And if you don't, then you'll get an idea of what it is here. We won't be building something like Jira today, not completely, because we won't have any card structure. We'll have the idea behind it. So that means essentially that we will be able to create an issue, and that can be like we need to create a header for the web page. So the issue is create a header, and that header, or that issue, I mean, should be able to be retrieved or read. We should be able to get that issue, pretty much. And when we've gotten it, we should be able to either just read it. That's the simplest part. Then we don't have to do anything with it. But we should also be able to update it. So it could be like, it could be complete or in progress, or perhaps the description is wrong or something like that. But we should also be able to delete it. Perhaps we don't need a header anymore. It's redundant. We don't need a header for the web page. And then we need to be able to delete that issue. So with that, we'll have full CRUD functionality. We'll have a kind of bad user experience on the page because we won't actually do anything to make it look nice, but that's not really the point of this either. And of course, we should start with getting the repository down. So on this link, we can get that part. And if we just clone this, go into our VS Code here. I am actually there already, so I'll go and do a git clone, and I'll clone that. And then I'll also make sure I open that folder specifically. So, with this, as usual, we get a lot of folders, and that, like the last project, we get a lot more this time than we did in the previous sections. We have a lot more stuff this time, is the thing really. We have backend, we have frontend, and we actually have test folders as well, and we have a few things that's just coming from glitch, like this hyperdev assets, which we don't need at all really. And we have these other things like test runner and FCC, I was there. FCC testing, which we don't need either, because that's stuff that the FreeCodeCamp tells us that we need, which is probably completely useless because they won't test our code anyway, because we'll do that. But if we go back here and go there, we can actually have a look at what the app should look like, just to have an idea. And we'll hope that glitch actually can open this. One issue I had when doing these projects, I don't know if you'll have done them too, but that's that glitch doesn't really work for all of these projects, or it didn't at least. So some of the projects are just not, you can't open them, you can't see what you're supposed to build, which is an issue. This seems to be one of those. So I'm gonna let this try to wake up, but we'll continue anyway. But then, of course, it's a lot more difficult to do these projects if you have the description for what you're supposed to do, but you don't have anywhere to actually look at what you're supposed to do. So you don't have, if you don't know what an issue tracker is, it's really difficult to build an issue tracker. And that's why we have these links, so we can have a look at it, right? That's what we had in every single section so far. But in this section, we have links like this one. This just won't open. And I'm not sure if that's an issue on the glitch part or whatever, but yeah, that's a bit of a side note. I'll be closing this out now that this won't open. It won't do that. And what you could do then is essentially as Google issue tracker FreeCodeCamp and see if you can find someone else's project to look at if you want to see what you're supposed to build. I actually do know what we're supposed to build, so let's continue. And we had the repository done. I copied it. I haven't installed it, so let's do that. We'll go for npm install, just to make sure that we have everything here. And with this, we obviously get this nice little Node modules folder. And with that, we also want to add in a get-ignore file while we're at it. And that get-ignore file could be large, but for our purposes, we really just want to make sure that we have these two in here. We don't want to upload Node modules to whatever repository we're uploading to. So we'll add that, and we can see that Node modules is grayed out. And we'll also add a .env file here, and we don't have one of those, so let's add that. We'll have a .env file, and we're gonna need that because we're gonna need to open a MongoDB connection, and we want to store our MongoDB connection in here. We could actually add a few more things, like this probably. There are quite a few things we don't actually need here. So we have a .bashrc, we don't need that. We don't need the hyperdev assets, no point in having those. I don't believe we need a profile either. I think that both the .profile here and the .bashrc are connected to glitch, which we're not using. This one, again, FreeCodeCamp claims that we need it. I don't think so, but I don't know. Well, let's keep the rest, I guess. If you look at the README file here, we have a few user stories, sort of. So we have a node env that we should set to test. We'll not do that. It said that in the last project as well. It doesn't really work. I mean, if you set node env to test here, nothing is actually going to happen because you still need to tell the application that you should run the tests. The purpose of doing this, or what they want us to do with it, is that by setting this to test, we should establish a sort of workflow where as soon as we start the application, we run through the test suite. But there's no explanation to how we're supposed to do that. And frankly, I'm not bothered with finding out how to do that with Mocha and Chai. So I'm not doing that. But you can see here as well, we should have a Mongo connection to our database in the .env file. And like the last section, I have actually already done this project, so I have a database for this project. So I have a collection called issue tracker, and in here I have a table which is called issues, and here I have some issues that can be solved or resolved or whatever. But I guess that by now you know how to create an issue or a collection in the MongoDB database. What we need to do as well, though, is obviously to store this Mongo URI in here. And I want to do that, and I'm gonna cut the video a bit here so you don't see what I write here. Yeah, and we'll also go into the package JSON file here and have a look at that, because in here we have a scripts file, or scripts command I should say, and with that we could obviously just go ahead and run an npm start to get the application up and running. And I should have it there, I believe. Yes. And here we have a few more user stories. We have this one that says that I should be able to prevent cross-site scripting. And what does that mean? Well, like we've learned from the section, that pretty much just means that we should use Helmet. We don't even have to use a specific part of Helmet, we just need to use Helmet, and that's it. I should be able to post an issue with form data containing issue title, issue text, and created by, and also perhaps assigned to and status text. And this should be like in progress or finished or whatever. And assigned to should obviously be able to be put to a user. We'll have this a bit easier here though, I should say, because while we should be able to assign this to a user, we don't actually have to have specific users that we have in the database. We can actually just write a name or a number actually, whatever really. So if you look at this here, you have this assigned to Joe. Joe is not in the database. Joe is just a random string that we write, which makes this project a little bit easier. We could make it a lot more advanced by adding users, and each user can only have, each issue can only have one user and so on. But we're not going to do that, because that's not the purpose of this. We also have a user story here that tells us that we should have all fields should be here. So we should be able to see a lot of stuff when we retrieve these projects or issues, or let's go with issues. And of course I should be able to put this, i.e. I should be able to update it. And to update an issue I need the ID. I don't need any fields really, because the fields are what I'm going to update, but the ID is what it tells us, or tells the computer really, or tells the data, it tells Mongo which issue we're working with. So the issue, and the ID is obviously unique, we can't change that, but we can change anything that's connected to that ID. And if we don't want to change it, we could also delete it. That's good. And I can get this. So number 6 and number 3 are sort of connected. They're pretty much the same one. And then I can filter as well, I should be able to do. And filtering essentially just means that we should be able to query for any issues that are open, not false. They should be open or not, or they have a specific assignee. So like Joe here could have 5 different issues, and then we could filter the issues that belong to Joe and see how he's doing on his work. And then we have this one as well. And like in the last project, we are supposed to write our own tests. Unlike the last project, however, we don't have any unit tests here. We only have functional tests, and we have 11 functional tests we should write, compared to like, 20 tests in the last project or something. So here, if we just test this, I should be able to go to like API issues here, and here I need to write something. I don't know if I can write like 11. No, I cannot, it seems. Anyway, so if I have a look at this, you can see that here we can submit stuff. We can submit an issue, we can update an issue, we can delete an issue. I think that there's something missing here, because I want to be able to get the issues as well. Let's say, for instance, that I submit an issue here, and then I go away for a bit, and then I forget which ID that issue got. Then I want to be able to get all issues so that I can see which issue I actually want. Yeah, anyway, so we're actually gonna add that part here. So if we go to views, we can have a look at this one first, because like in the last project we have an HTML file. We actually have two here. So here we have an issue.html, and this one is connected to each specific issue, and you can see that this is a standard HTML file. They also have some sort of center element here, which is red because there is no center element in HTML as far as I know, and as far as VS Code knows. So this should probably not be center. Anyway, we also have a script tag that we don't need to care a lot about. This one is needed for the Ajax calls here, and like I said in the last video, if you don't know what Ajax is, it doesn't really matter a lot for this because you can still do the project, but you should probably go ahead and read up a bit on it, because it makes it a lot easier to understand what's happening behind the scenes here if you know what Ajax is. And these ones are Ajax calls, and if you have a look here, we can see that we have an Ajax call for a type get, we have one for a type post, and for put and delete, which essentially means that as soon as we click on, like, actually I can't show that because we don't have any issues, never mind. Anyway, we have that here as well. So this is our index file. So when we go to this part here, this is our index page. This is the first page we're getting to, and the first page has this code, and this is the markup code for that page. And we can see here that we have a form ID for test form, and test form 2 and test form 3 here. However, we also have the Ajax calls. So if I have a look at this again, we can see that we have test form 2, and that should be 3, not 2. I think I found that bug last time when I did this as well. Anyway, this ID needs to be 3 because each one of these are connected to that. So this is jQuery, if you don't know what that looks like, and this symbol is obviously a symbol for ID. So this is connected to the third test form. We are gonna add a bit of code here, and we're simply gonna add a bit of code that lets us get stuff. So in here, we'll go and put in test form 4. And here we'll have a type get with a test form 2. What we're doing here is essentially that we're copy pasting any one of these and making sure that we can click it. So we could do, like, let's just get this one. Get issues, I think. And I'm actually not sure if we're doing this completely right. I don't remember. Let's have a look. Let's see what's happening. So let's just restart the server. So, oh, right. I was wondering why everything got so long, but that's because I have Prettier installed and it just formatted everything here. Oh well. Anyway, if we go here, we should have another here. And yeah, right, we don't actually want that. I think we should be able to just remove that, I think. Let's see, required, we don't need that at all, I think. Let's just do that. So, nothing is happening right now because we don't have any issues. I think we don't have any issues, at least. I don't know if that's exactly why nothing's happening. I think so. Anyway, that's what we need to do here. And if we go to the package.json file, we should also prepare some stuff here. And like in the last project, no one actually tells us how to run these tests, right? We are told that we should use Mocha, which we have here. We should use Chai, which we have here. And somehow those we should write tests for those, and those tests should run. And how do we do that? Well, like in the last project, I actually Googled until I found someone who had done this, because there is no explanation to how we should do this. So basically, we write test so that we can write npm test, and then we'll just write mocha -- UI tdb tests, and here again, like in the last video, from here on we'll reference a specific file in our file system. So test/2_functional test.js, and we'll have to make sure that we have what we need here. So what we're gonna need is obviously Express. We don't need course actually. There's no point in us having course here, but we'll have course. We'll have a body parser. We need that. We need Chai, obviously, and Mocha. We need MongoDB. And we may actually need another version of MongoDB, I think. So let's update this to 3.3.2. Maybe even a later one. I think that's enough. And I'm actually gonna update a few other ones here. And this is something I'd recommend that you actually do in your project. Sit down and update these packages, because if we look at the repository here, we can see that that's not the right one. This is the right one. We can see that this one is updated 3 years ago, and in the tech world, quite a lot of things happen in 3 years. So these packages are often out of date. So it's a good idea or a good practice really, when you're doing these projects, to just update these. And it's not incredibly difficult to do. So like Express here, for instance, we can just do that. And we've actually learned what this means, right? So this one just gets the latest version of this package. But sometimes these ones aren't really correct, so we'll actually we'll have to make sure that we get the right version of them. So I'm gonna do that. I don't really care about Chai, I think. Okay, MongoDB is important. Helmet may be important, maybe. Let's actually update that. And to actually update them, we can't just do this, obviously. We also need to do an npm install. And what happens now is essentially that npm looks at all the packages we have, and if they have the right version, nothing happens. But if any of these don't correspond to whatever is installed already, it reinstalls it with a new version. It's good to know, I guess. So let's close that down. Let's close that one down as well. And we have a CSS file. I should say that. We have a CSS file here. You can do whatever you want with it. We have a CSS file, and you can do whatever you want with it. If you look at this app, it looks terrible. You should probably do something about this. But this project is not about CSS. We've done CSS in 3, perhaps even 4 sections, depending on what you did in the last section. we don't really need to practice CSS at this point, hopefully. It's always a good idea to practice it, obviously, but in this, I mean, yeah. You could do something about this. I think I actually did do something about it when I did the project, but I'm not going to waste time on doing that now. And we'll have a look at one more file for this part of the video, and that's actually the server file. So we'll have to make sure that everything looks alright before we move on. So in this file, we want to go ahead and get all these bars that we have. So we'll do that. All of these ones I want to change to const, obviously. And then we need to make sure that we have everything we need. So we have Express here, great. We actually have body parser installed and used. It's a good idea to actually make sure that both of them are there, because sometimes FreeCodeCamp gives us this, and sometimes they give us this and that. And we need this as well, otherwise it doesn't work. Again, we don't need course really. We don't need this one. That's not important. We do need this. And we don't need to do anything about this anymore, because this is already prepared, but we're going to write a route in this file. And this file has a module export here, which means that we can use it in this file. Essentially, what this means is that whatever we write in this file is going to be read as if it was in this file. So it's like writing import whatever, like we would do in React or other frameworks. I think we're missing one word. We need helmet. Among other things, actually. We need helmet at least. So const helmet is require helmet, obviously. And here we could just go ahead and do an app.use helmet as a function. So we also need .env. That's actually not described anywhere, but I explained that in the last section as well. If you want to run any files or anything from a .env file locally, we actually need a package called .env. So we'll have to do a npm install .env. And with that, we could do a const.env is require .env.config, not function. It's function. Yeah. So, and that's all we need to do with this. We don't need to require, we don't need to use it anywhere. This is actually enough. If we have a look at this, then we have a route here. This is a sample front end that we have. This one doesn't do a lot, and we can see that here is where our issue.html file is used. So if we go to a specific project somewhere, we'll get to another page than the index.html page, and then this file is going to be used instead and show that project. But we actually need an issue for that to happen, so we can test it right now. I actually have issues in my database, but I don't have any routes to get there, so it doesn't really matter. Let's see, do we have anything else we should explain? No, I don't think so. We could actually do this. Here we should add that. And this is just for convenience. If we run, nope, not that. Anyway, so if we run that, we should get 3000 there. Oh, whatever. That's what I wanted to get. Anyway, that's gonna be enough for this part. In the next part, I want to go ahead and I'm just gonna check that we haven't missed anything. No. Good. In the next part, I'm gonna go ahead and write the routes for getting and posting stuff. So again, we're gonna have to create full CRUD functionalities. We're gonna have to create, read, update, and delete. So I'm gonna do the create and read part in the next part of this video. So see you then.